everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz. And today, I'm joking, it's not World of Tanks Blitz, this is Sprocket. However, this is a Tankenstein that you're seeing on your screen, and that's because today I'm going to be showing off some World of Tanks Blitz fake tanks that I have recreated here in Sprocket. Starting off with, of course, my favourite tank in the game, which is the Tankenstein with the superior 130mm main gun. So this was the first Blitz tank I attempted to make, and I think it's gone quite well for me, having never attempted to build a tank to schematics, as it were, being the Tankenstein as we see it in game. So of course we got the Tiger P chassis here that I had to build from scratch, which wasn't actually too bad, and then we've got a KV4 turret on top with the little turret on top as well. Gun mantlet isn't ideal, but I'm still not sure on how to make sort of rounded things out of flat surfaces without splitting it loads and doing all sorts of stuff. So yeah, this is the Tankenstein. We've got, the machine gun turret up the front, well, machine gun turret, the machine gun port up the front, we've got the vents at the back, we've got the two exhausts, which aren't quite, the giant exhausts that we see on the Tankenstein that spew fire, but they're close enough. We've got some tools along the side, we've got the two hatches on the side of the tank as well, and armour-wise it's identical to the one in game. So we've got 200mm of frontal armour, just like in the game, with 80mm lower glacis. We've got 150mm front of the KV Fortress turret, the same with the mini turret. As for side armour, we've got 100mm of Tiger P hull armour and 120mm of side KV4 turret, 150 and 80 for the mini turret, and then the rear is 80 all over, except for this bit, which is 40, and then we've got 20mm of lower hull armour, as well as how much top armour? 25mm of top armour as well. So yeah, that's. Let me just fix this. I don't know why this is jutting out like that. So yes, this is identical. However, unlike the one in game, it's obviously missing a lot of the cosmetic features, because those don't exist in Sprocket, and without wanting to try and model them myself out of many hours, I've just left it as it is. But that also means that the top mini turret, which doesn't work in World of Tanks Blitz, and probably wouldn't on the real Tankenstein, does actually work. So firepower wise, the mini turret does 126mm of pen with its 45mm, and the main 130 is 234, which is considerably more than the 196mm in game. We also have the little machine guns on the side of the KV4 turret as well. But as you can see, the gun, I've actually tried to model it as best as I could to the one in game, so it sort of goes thinner and then wider again towards the end of the barrel. But yeah, it's... Oh. There you go. Yeah, it's decently mobile, because I did actually give it the correct engine power as well. If we look here at 3800 RPM, we have got 693 horsepower, which the actual Tankenstein in game has got 690 horsepower. So yeah, we're close enough that I can get. I can't get it on the mark, unfortunately, but we're close enough. And it does mean that it's decently mobile. It's still a heavy tank though, so it's not overly mobile. The two guns can be fired both together. However, they can also be fired individually. So there you go. They're both fired at once. But then, because I have set it to set one of them to fire group 2, one of them to fire group 1. Yeah, the small 45mm can fire independently of the main 130, and if I switch back to the main 130 here, we can shoot, and it does have a similar reload time to the one in game, which is around 18ish seconds. The one in game has got 17-second reload time. So yeah, it's pretty spot on, except for the penetration, but more penetration is always better. So that is the Tankenstein, and I have also got the 105mm Tankenstein as well for all of you who use the 105mm here. Nothing else has changed about the tank other than the fact that, yeah, it does have a 105mm which has got 223mm of penetration, and it's got the Sherman turret, the Sherman manlet in game, but it's yeah, 100, but it's basically the T29 manlet as best as we can. Again, without me having to model my own, and let me just fix that with the hull, because both of these tanks were made using freeform, which I'm still relatively new to. But here you go, you have got the 105mm, and if we select the 105mm, we can see that it fires, or reloads rather, in around 13 seconds, which is a bit slower than the one in game, but yeah, it's close enough for Sprocket here. So yeah, that is the Tankenstein. You know, I'm very happy with how it turned out. And yeah, it's always nice to be able to drive your own Tankenstein around. So the next tank that I attempted to make was the Gravedigger. And the Gravedigger is probably my favourite tank out of all of these. As you can see, it looks pretty much like the Gravedigger, and it's massive, just like the Gravedigger, and it's got the same armour as the Gravedigger. It's got 82mm of frontal armour, which is sloped, same as down here. 82mm but sloped, and it has also got a 180mm strip behind the front bayonet attachment thing, which I made using applique armour pieces that have just been stretched, and some of these Sherman ventilators, which I've just again stretched to make a pretty close looking frontal ramming device. As for the rest of the armour, 82mm of side armour for the hull, 57mm of rear armour. As for the turret is all over the place. We've got 152mm of side armour here. We've got 180mm of frontal turret, all of which is sloped, and then 80. How much thickness? Sort of like 82mm of thickness all over the rear of the turret as well. And the actual turret ring itself is 180mm. So top armour only 45 and 37mm, and lower armour is only 10mm. But then who really cares about lower armour? And we've got the engine deck under here, which you can just about see jutting out from under the turret. We've got the rear lights, side exhausts. We've obviously got the side armour, and these spikes are once again made using Sherman ventilators. We've got the twin front headlights, top hatches on the main hull. These 50 cal Brownings that are either side of the gun are made using the Sherman machine guns. Anti-infantry, yeah, they're made using these Browning ports and just flipped over. So as you can see, there you go, there's the Browning port. And then, Commander's Cupola, we got the single radio mast on the turret. And as for how I've made the gun itself is just another turret. As you can see, if I select it here, you can see there's the turret ring, and here's the turret sticking out here. And yeah, this turret makes the gun, and then extra guns have been placed out the front here because the Gravedigger's got this funny sort of jutting gun arrangement before the long 57mm autoloader is. Now we know that the actual Gravedigger in-game has got a 57mm autoloader, so in order to try and replicate that, what I've done is I have got 3 different 57mm, long 57mm here, and I've just layered them over each other. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3, and these guns are actually delayed by 1.3 seconds each. So this has got a fire delay of 260, and this one down here has got a fire delay of 1.3 seconds. So what that means is when you hold down left click, it will fire them one after another, sort of rapid fire, to try and sort of simulate that autoloader, because autoloaders don't currently exist in game. As for mobility though, it does have the correct engine power at 2800 RPM, which if we drop down here has got 1054 horsepower. The one in game has got 1055 horsepower, so I've made it as close as I could. And visually and how it looks and feels, I think the Gravedigger is my best out of all of these World of Tanks Blitz tanks. Whilst the Tankenstein is my favourite tank, this just feels the best. Now the only problem with this is that when you spawn it, the gun does this, and I don't know why. The sideways turret for some reason always does a 180. As we can see here, it just... I don't know why. But it does sort itself out. Once it goes level, it will no longer do that. I've also given this Gravedigger the correct gun elevation and depression angles. So, as we can see here, it's got 15 degrees of gun elevation and 5 degrees of gun depression. Now, as you can see, we've got 3 shell markers underneath the reload thing. And if I show you how this autoloader works, here's my gun sight. If I hold down left click, we fire once, we fire twice, and then we fire a third time, which didn't quite work because I messed it up. But as you can see, we carry like 600 rounds of ammo, so we've got more than enough for any battle. And yeah, all of these guns are identical guns. They're all identical in penetration. They've been lined up. They have been lined up to replicate as if they were one single auto-loading gun, but they're actually 3 layered on top of each other, just hyperly aligned. All of these tanks as well have got the correct number of wheels actually in them. So as we can see here, the Gravedigger has got 5 wheels, and if you look at the one on game, it's also got 5 road wheels under here, with the idler, sprocket, and return roller, sprocket, and idler there. And as you can see, this idler wheel is literally just the only one, which has given me that funny looking track layout. But yeah, that is the Gravedigger. It is my favourite out of all of the tanks, and as we can see, the gun does this every time. But penetration-wise though, the guns all do 167mm of penetration, which is not actually that far off from the one in game, so that's pretty close at least. All of these tanks are in the late war period as well. But yeah, so that is the Gravedigger. Now the next one that I tried after the Gravedigger, which took me a while, is everyone's favourite Tier 7 twin gun tank destroyer, the Helsing HO or H0, now commonly known as just the Helsing. This took me a while to do, but I do like how it came out. The hull, not so much. I mean, the hull was a bit of a pain, yes. the hull was a pain to do, yes, but the turret was the main problem for me to try and deal with, because yeah, it's just sort of like a mesh of trying to make this all work. If we smooth angle it, it doesn't really help. I mean, it sort of looks a little bit better, but yeah, it was a pain actually getting the turret to look correct, but also to fit everything in. Yeah, this Helsing is a bit of a mess. The turret itself isn't actually, well, as you can see, it's actually got a massive basket underneath that I had to put to fit everything in, because with twin guns you obviously need an extra loader, and if it only had one 85mm gun, it wouldn't be that much of a problem, but because it's 2, I have to fit an extra loader in here, plus the commander, plus the gunner. So yeah, it was a bit of a stretch to try and fit everyone in, but using various finagling techniques I managed to do it. So yeah, let me actually fix one thing with these tracks though. I'm going to change the sprocket mount to that. There you go. Now that's far less intrusive. So yeah, once again, like all of the other replicas, it's all identical to in-game, so you've got 60mm of armour all over the front, all of these sloping bits, all of this upper bit is all 60mm, side armour is all 40mm, and then 50mm of rear armour, well, 40mm, sorry, 15 if you include the barrel at the back. But yeah, actually on the back, the engine deck, I've tried to sort of simulate that round thing that's on the back. We've got the distinctive upward sloping exhausts, we've got some vents, we've got these chests which are giving it that little bit of sloping that you see on the back. These barrels or well, this one barrel I think it is actually. Yeah, it's just a stretched barrel. This barrel is replicating of that barrel that's on the real tank underneath, and because I needed to fit more space in the compartment, actually in the hull, it doesn't actually carry any fuel. The fuel tanks are located here. They are just some spare barrels which I have placed inside the tank, which is what's giving us that 796 litres of fuel. Yeah, they're just spare fuel tanks within the hull, which are just supplying it with fuel. It's the best we can do because this is such a small tank, and yeah, like I say, trying to fit in 6 crew members. Wargaming doesn't think when they make these tanks. They just think this tank looks cool. We'll give it some stats and we'll chuck it out into the wider world. So yeah, actually trying to recreate these tanks is a bit of a pain, but we do at least have this front light on there. We do have the driver's viewport on there. We do have all of the crew members we need. I even managed to fit a radio operator in there. If I didn't have the radio op in there, then probably the commander could double for him or something. But yeah, as you can see, twin loaders for the twin guns, and the guns do have the correct fire delay between each shell. This one has got a 0.3 second delay, just like the one in game. They are both 85mm guns, and they've got 199mm of penetration, which is about 20 or 30mm more than the one in game. So if you hated it then, you're going to hate it more in Sprocket. But I tried to sort of show the side skirts that are on here, and once again, the correct number of wheels. It's got 7 road wheels on the Blitz model, and so I have as well. Got this big idler at the back and the front sprocket, and then of course the twin commander's hatches at the top. I couldn't really manage to get the sunk-in bit of the turret, but minor details. And mobility-wise as well, actually, just to show you, I do have the correct horsepowers. Exactly on the mark, 500 horsepowers, which is exactly what it has in game. Obviously weight isn't going to be identical to the one in game, but it's decently fast. You know, we can blitz around, and the twin main guns, if we were to spawn something like Gravedigger, sure, why not? We can he won't be able to shoot us with it, so there you go, bang bang, and we shot him, and there's his gun underneath. So yeah. But once again, just to show you one more time this twin gun in action. There you go. Just like in Blitz, the second shell is wildly off the mark because of that recoil. But otherwise, the tank is identical to the one in Blitz. And just to show you the frontal armour of this thing, it's 80mm of frontal turret. This whole mantlet is basically the equivalent of spaced armour, just like in game. So yeah, 80mm of side armour and frontal hull armour, and then this rear bit is like 50. At the back here we've got 40mm, and then we've got some 35, some 20mm, some 60mm. The turret is all over the place with armour, but you know, 25mm of engine deck and hull top armour, but it does work, and it is the Helsing. Now, the second to last tank I'm going to show is the Lycan. If anyone remembers this, it was a Halloween tank from a little while ago. And it's pretty interesting with its piked nose that nobody really talks about anymore. But just as before, correct armour layout, 100mm of pike nose armour, 65mm of lower glacis, 80mm of side armour all around here. We've got 120mm of side armour on this jutting out bit. For whatever reason, Wargaming decided to give it that, and then it goes back to 80. Strange. We've got 60mm of rear armour all over the place, 45mm of upper armour here, and on top of the hull as well. And as it should be, it's properly sloped here. We do also have, for some reason this thing's got a load of bottom hull armour. It's got 45mm of bottom hull armour, which I've no clue why. As for the turret, 120mm turret front, 100mm side of the turret, but only on this area. On this area it's only 80mm. And then for the rear armour it's all just 60mm. top armor as well is only 10, but I might have just not bothered giving it the correct proper armor. So I just checked, and yeah, I just haven't given it armor values, but 45mm of upper turret here, and then it's 40mm at the rear here, and then 60mm is all of this rear bit. This is yeah, an interesting heavy tank. You know, commander's cupola up there, and then we've got the little ears that are on the back of the turret, just cosmetic, made with, once again, more ventilators. We've got the massive engine deck with, this is technically space armor on the one in Blitz, but I don't have that. I don't have that capability here in Sprocket. So yeah, just loads of engine vents will have to do. We've even got the little sticking out bits at the rear of the hull. And the rear of the hull does, of course, jut out as it should. And putting it in this sort of matte black actually looks quite similar, and gets similar in this black, matte black to the one in game. And once again, correct number of wheels, correct sprocket location, correct idler wheel, and return roller as well, respectively there. And then, of course, driver's viewport right there. No spaced armor around the gun, but that's because I can't attach things to the gun mantlet. Yeah, we've got the single viewport up there. As for the gun, it is a 122mm, as is the one on the Lycan. And here in Sprocket, it's got 221mm of penetration, which is quite a lot. Better than the, I think it's 175 for the Lycan, I think is what it has in game. But it is the correct length. And yeah, it's a decent enough heavy tank. Yeah, with that pike nose, should be alright against something like a Helsing, hopefully. Nope, never mind, the Helsing just goes straight through. Where did he hit? Where did he hit? Oh, I can't see. Can't see where he penetrated, but he did. Oh yeah, also radio mast is hidden inside of the turret as well. Actually, mobility-wise, we have got the correct horsepowers once again, bumping it up here to 4,300 RPM. We have got 502 horsepowers, which is 2 horsepowers more than the in-game correct amount, which is 500. So, yeah, it's not the most mobile out of all of these Blitz tanks. However, it does look pretty good, in my opinion, and it does look pretty close to the actual correct one in-game. Let's spawn a Helsing again and hope we can get lucky. Nope, we did not get lucky. Never mind. Actual reload time as well for this 122, if we can stop falling over. I missed the barrel, is 15-ish seconds again, which, it's alright. It's a bit slower than the actual Lycan's reload time, but for Sprocket that's sort of on par with just other 122s, so nothing, no real change there. It's sort of 60 actually more like 16. But yeah, so that is the Lycan. And finally, we have got the Scavenger. The only tank here that I do not own that I have made. But we have got both variants, like with the Tankenstein. Let me just give the gun some counterweight here, there we go. So we've got both variants of the Scavenger, because the Scavenger apparently comes with 2 different guns. The first one being the 17-pounder, which is the more the more reliable gun, I suppose you could say. And so yeah, here it is. It's got this is the only one which has got the correct penetration values to the one in game, and that's only because I can't give it bigger shells. I need the space. I need the space once again. It's a very small tank. So yeah, this one's actually got 130mm of penetration, which is exactly what it should have. Now you will notice here with the Scavenger we are missing the flamethrower on the front. That's because once again I can't really model that. Just like with the Gravedigger, the 50 cals either side of the turret, or either side of the gun mantlet, are just made with Brownings flipped over. If we were to go inside the hull, bam, there it is. A very, very long and pointy Browning, but it's a Browning nonetheless. So yeah, the actual turret I haven't touched. The turret is just a generator, a freeform round turret, and I just haven't fiddled with it because no thank you. At the hull though, the hull was a nightmare. I did manage to get this rounding done pretty easily, but then trying to get the sort of arms, I suppose you could say, that come around, it was a bit difficult, but I just about figured out how to do it. As we can just about see, there is 2 different branching arms. We've got one here and one right here as well. And once again, Sherman ventilators are being used for the sort of idler wheel cap right here. Then we've got the single light, we've got the various hook attachment points that it has, and then we've got the driver's viewport, the very low down, close to the hull driver's viewport. Engine deck, twin exhausts, we've got the little applique armour bolt-on thing there. Once again, more hook points on the back. We do have the fuel tank cap as well here, where it should be as per in-game, and then the engine deck has got the 2 vents and the central hatch. As for the turret, two separate hatch stowages, and then of course the commander's cupola and another hatch right here, and then we've got spikes, once again using stretched Sherman ventilators to make some spikes on the back of the hull. And then obviously we've got the big wide open tracks right there, with once again the correct number of wheels. And then yeah, just the 17-pounder gun mounted in the turret, and this is most definitely the fastest out of all of them. Just like with the others, it's got the correct engine horsepowers, which if we bump it down to its 4,200 RPM, has got 409 horsepowers, which is 9 more than in-game. In-game it actually has 400 horsepowers. So yeah, we are using slightly more horsepowers for probably the same weight of tank, but I mean, look at it go, 44 kilometers an hour. That's pretty fast, I do have to say. Although it obviously slows down after a while. Punch that tree out of the way. I wonder actually, can I give it a... No, I can't. I like I say, I need this hull space and this turret space. We are literally packed in here. And yeah, there's the radio mast as well. This is, I think, the only one which only has 4 crew. The gunner, the commander, sorry, doubles as the radio operator. Armor-wise as well, once again, as per the correct armor layout of World of Tanks Blitz, all of this is 75mm, so 75mm all over the front of the hull. The 2 arms as well are 75mm right here and right here. The side armor is all 45mm, as you can see. Yeah, this is I don't know what's going on here, but it's a thing with freeform. If you mess around with freeform too much, this happens. So I don't know, I just tried to make a scavenger, but it's all 45mm of side armour, roughly, should be. And then a couple of these little bits here are also 45mm. And then rear armour is all 35mm. As for the turret is all 25mm at the back, and then we've got some 45mm around the side, we've got some 75mm around the front, and then 75mm at the top, and then 25 and 25. So yeah, it's quite quick. 17-pounder reloads in about 5 seconds, which is not too bad. Probably actually faster than the one in game. Tier 5 tanks tend to have like a 7-second reload on their 75, so for a 76mm 17-pounder like this, yeah, that's pretty fast. And finally, the other one is the 32-pounder howitzer, which is right here. Nothing else has changed about it, it's just got the howitzer on it, and if we fire it, yeah, rather quicker to reload, because the shells are to the correct penetration as well, which, as we can see here, is 90mm, and because there's such a short shell length, it's just got a very quick reload time. But yeah, so that is a load of World of Tanks Blitz tanks. I'll thank you all for watching, let me know your favourite, and goodbye.